When I was a little girl, I always thought that I would grow up to be a princess. Then, it was a teacher, and then a doctor. As I grew up, I noticed that much of it became unrealistic, that the world that once revolved around me had now chosen someone else in its spotlight. In that moment, this fantasy that I had would be just that. What a shame, I thought to myself. Last summer, I successfully applied to an AI camp. Essentially, the STEM-based camp created exposure to the successes and failures of AI, as well as the ethical implications. Following, there was an opportunity to collab with fellow mentors and campers on a project that was pertinent to that time. Be it that it was 2 weeks and all online, I thought to myself, wow, this was not only going to be a fun opportunity, an interesting opportunity, but it would also be awfully relaxing. Specifically, this was my first national experience, and so I knew that I was going to meet all of these young women and older women who would share their experiences, but I also thought that we would share these experiences, interests, lifestyles, and hobbies. We were just one and the same, I thought to myself, but I was wrong. On the first day, I admired the selected young women from North America at surface level. We exchanged socials, and we got to know each other in one way or another. Then, there were guest speakers, notably women who had joined us from all across Canada to share their story of how they got to where they are today, their story of the moments of weaknesses, failures, and obstacles they had to overcome to get to where they are. I always knew people who were in high places had to do their fair share of hard work, but the extent of it was not only unrealistic, but unimaginable. And their story, it spoke to me. Although their story is not mine to share, with the stage I have today, I would like to share mine. Specifically, I would like to talk about an almost forbidden F word in today's society. F-A-I-L-U-R-E. Failure. Now take a moment. What is failure to you? Is it an action, a sensation, a calling, or just another word in the dictionary? Is it a story of one or of all? Is it intentional or is it purposeful? But most importantly, is it worth it and does it define you? Failure is generally described as a lack of or absence of success. It is illuminated as a simplistic opposite of success, like the opposite of up is down or right is left. This broad, ambiguous definition guides us in defining and characterizing our values and our failures, which in return affects our ability to enjoy and celebrate the minor successes we experience along the way. Today, I hope to change that. Whether or not we like to admit it, failure is a story that defines us. Although not willingly, we subconsciously take these moments and use them as a supportive pillars that build and support us as we build to the subsequent plot of our stories. Take riding a bike, for example. I am confident that almost all of you in the audience today have at one point tried to ride a bike. And out of those, I am equally assured that you have either fallen, stumbled, or simply lost your balance. This goes to show that while failures are shared, they provide us with the opportunity to get back up, improve, and to avoid the same mistake. While we failed and stumbled along the way, we were able to get back up, persevere, and practice until we got it right. And that, my friends, is what it means to fail successfully. Now back to me and my story. As the first week of the camp proceeded, I found myself becoming increasingly confused. I figured that because I had taken the prerequisites like the maths and the sciences of this would be a breeze. The tables had turned, however, because the more I thought I knew, the increasingly confused I became, and I thought that I knew everything there was to know. And that marked my first failure, a lack of self-awareness. Following that moment, I found myself becoming increasingly uncomfortable and antsy. I felt like I was going to be left behind because I didn't have the confidence in my abilities and my capabilities. However, not too long after, I received a text from one of my newer friends from that camp. She said, and I quote, "I am so confused." And although I shouldn't have, I sparked a smile and I immediately felt reassured because everything that was going downhill now started to reverse. Because now I had a friend right there, beside me, fighting the fight with me. Oh, and that smile, I had plenty of time to feel guilty about it later. The days that followed were harder, and they were also better because now I wasn't all alone. The second week, we split off into our groups and we worked on our projects and our modules. Not only did I not know anyone in my group, but the material being covered was incomprehensible, to me at least. I think I had this predisposition that just because I didn't understand something, nobody in my group would either, and so there was no point in trying, no point in reaching out for help, and there was no point in doing anything altogether. And this marked my second failure, a lack of persistence and perseverance. Now, I say with great happiness that I was wrong. Not only did I lack self-awareness again, but I brutally and wrongfully judged my surroundings. This, added with my inability to persevere, did not serve me well. I found my interest, my enthusiasm, and overall engagement in this camp plummeting, so I was basically that kid in the corner of math class who always falls asleep. The days that preceded, my group and I, we started bonding. Not FaceTime and talking about our lives bonding, but we each had a mutual understanding of how each of us felt about the material being covered in the project. And whether or not I would have liked to admit it then, I would not have expected us to come as far along as we did. Not only did we finish in time, but with adequate evidence and data, we were able to formulate multiple presentations to diverse audiences, and we each let the other shine where they could, where they were stronger, and where we were all weak, we worked together to accomplish that goal. And this goes to show that while you may be failing individually, there's always opportunity, and there's always people around you, your friends, peers, or complete strangers, who are there to support you and help you succeed along the way. Now, if I had more time, I would have continued sharing the numerous failures I experienced in this camp alone. However, my greatest takeaway from this camp was that failure is of two kinds. The first is of failing yourself. In my case, it was a lack of self-awareness, where I didn't trust my past knowledge and I didn't have confidence in my abilities to retain and understand the new knowledge we were going to learn. However, the second is of failing your environment. Again, in my case, it was a lack of persistence and perseverance, and this was as a result of me not trusting and confiding in my peers and not believing that they would truly be there to support me along the way. We have judgments and biases on the daily about the people who surround us, about why their lives are the way they are, but we fail to understand why this is the cause. We tend to blame external factors, like I failed my test because my teacher did this. However, sometimes we are the root cause. We fail to acknowledge that not everybody is the same, that the person you sit next to in English class, or the colleague you work with at your place of employment, may be going through their own problems, at their own times, but most importantly, at their own extremities. That said, we're all humans, and we hear this so many times, but we fail to understand what it truly means and acknowledge that the person who's next to us may also be going through the same thing we're going through, maybe even in the same boat. This goes to show that while we may be failing individually or even collectively, there's always room for improvement. Even though your best is lower than average, or society tells you that you're far from perfect, in the end, it doesn't matter. Because your failures are yours, your successes are yours, but mine are mine. Yours are defined by your standards, your experiences, and your own actions. However, mine, and although I may be going through the same thing, mine are defined by how I approach it, how I recognize it, but most importantly, how I bounce back from it. That said, not all failures are created equal, but the people who experience them are. So as members of this society and this community, I ask that you reach out to the people around you when you see them being down, and ask them, hey, what's up? Lend them a hand, because failure is just another friend, and it's time we embrace it.